everyone, I'm Chris Erkley, and welcome to another edition of the PE Crime Blotter, a weekly look at crime here in the Inland Empire. We begin with crime headlines. Earl Ellis Green was sentenced to death Monday, June 25th for the 2010 slaying of Riverside police officer Ryan Bonaminio. Green will be taken to death row at San Quentin Prison. His appeal is automatic and will take years before it comes to the California Supreme Court. Jurors convicted Green of first-degree murder and recommended the death penalty. Green attacked Bonaminio, who had slipped and fallen during a foot pursuit along the edge of Riverside's Fairmount Park. He beat the officer on the head with a metal bar, then gained control of the officer's gun and shot Bonaminio in the head. Judge Gene P. Leonard termed the slaying, quote, cold, callous, brutal, and particularly cruel, end quote. The trial began last week for a Perris man who prosecutors say strangled his wife and bludgeoned his 6-year-old daughter to death after a paternity test showed his daughter was not his. 54-year-old Michael Barber could face the death penalty if convicted of all charges that he plotted and murdered his wife, Mason Barber, and his youngest daughter, Tamara, on November 14, 2009. Authorities say a 15-year-old girl was sexually assaulted early Tuesday evening, June 19th, while walking home near Lake Elsinore, and investigators are asking for help from the public to identify her attacker. The girl said she was walking through a field near Riverside Drive and Laguna Avenue when a man started a conversation, then knocked her down from behind and raped her. The attacker was described as a white man in his 20s, about 6 feet tall, wearing glasses and a bandana. Prosecutors are scheduled to decide Tuesday whether they'll file criminal charges on an 18-year-old high school student and possibly his teacher, stemming from classroom assaults on at least 3 students in a Fontana vocational masonry class at A.B. Miller High School. Fernando Salgado is behind bars held on $100,000 bail for investigation of assault, child cruelty, and attempted sodomy. Teacher Emmanuel De La Rosa was released on bail Sunday, so prosecutors have more time to decide whether he'll face criminal charges. Well, that does it for this week's crime headlines. Coming up next on the docket. It's now time for our On the Docket segment. We're taking a look at the big court cases this week in both Riverside and San Bernardino County. Joining me now, as always, Press Enterprise Rich Diatley. Rich, first case, Sarah Cruzen.
Right. She comes back on the docket in Riverside County. She was actually sentenced for first-degree murder in 1995. That case involved a 1994 murder where she was 16 years old, killed her pimp. She has been trying to get a retrial here in Riverside County and be able to use a battered victim defense in the slaying. The State Attorney General's office has opposed that until recently, where it turned around and said, yes, that is something the courts should consider. Cruzan has claimed that the man she killed had dominated her life from age 11 until the slaying at age 16, including molestation and rape of her. So now the State Attorney General and her attorneys need to file papers in Riverside Superior Court. We should be hearing about something about this later in the summer.
Next is Jesse Perez Torres, the man waiting trial for the murder of Norma Lopez.
He's back in court this week. We're still waiting to hear from the district attorney's office on whether they've decided this is a death penalty case or not.
And then finally, a Corona couple accused of murdering and torturing their 2.5-year-old son.
This is Naresh Michael Nareen and Belinda Magana. The child was hers. They originally reported this boy, a 2.5-year-old son, as missing, and then the child was later found dead. They are charged with special circumstance.
All right, Rich, thanks for joining us. Be sure to keep us updated on those cases with new developments. That does it for our On the Docket segment. Coming up next, we'll have Most Wanted. It's now time for our Most Wanted segment. We're highlighting violent crimes in 2 inland cities. I'm joined now by Press Enterprise's Steve Berry. Steve, we begin in San Bernardino.
Yes. On April 28th, about noon, a man police believe was 29-year-old James Bernard Davis Jr. attacked another man in the 1600 block of North Mount Vernon Avenue. He beat the man so severely that he broke the man's leg. Davis then took the man's wallet and walked away. Remember, this all happened at noon on a busy street. Police believe that Davis has family in the area and that he's still somewhere in or near San Bernardino.
And our second case we're looking at is in Coachella, a gang shooting that resulted in the death of a 2-year-old.
Yeah, this one's really sad. Just before 7:30 p.m. The night of January 25th, 3 people were shot in the 84,000 block of Redondo Sur. 2 men, the likely targets of the shooting, survived the incident, but 2-year-old Elijah Banuelos, who was playing by himself, later died at Loma Linda University Medical Center. Police believe that people in the neighborhood know who did the shooting, but they're not talking out of fear of gang retaliation.
Now, Steve, if anyone has any type of information on either one of these crimes, where can they call?
In San Bernardino, they should call the police department's tip line at 909-384-5656. And in Indio, they can call Valley Crime Stoppers at 760-341-STOP.
All right, Steve, thanks for joining us. That does it for this week's Most Wanted segment. Coming up next, Off the Beat, involving some crazy crimes at Del Taco. It's now time for our Off the Beat segment, and it's all about Del Taco this week. I'm joined by PE's Eric Vilchis. Eric, we know about the Hamburglar, but how about the Taco Burglar?
That's absolutely right. Those of you who are in line at a drive-thru late at night, beware. Panhandler comes up to a car and asks some women for some money, and they chase him away. But then they change their mind, and they say, come on back, we've got $1 for you. He comes back, takes the $1, opens the back door, gets into the back seat, pulls out a gun, and demands their wallets, their purses, and their cell phones as well.
And apparently at the Del Taco in Hemet, do not ask to change your order.
That's right. Late night, Del Taco and Hemet, a couple of guys go in there. Something happens with the order and it gets botched. There's an argument that ensues, and the worker, the employee at Del Taco, pulls out a knife and stabs the guy who's making the order. Now, not to make light of it, the injury was pretty serious, and he did go to the hospital, but not life-threatening. So I think the lesson to be learned is special orders do upset us.
Of course. Entertaining as always. Thank you, Eric. That does it for our Off the Beat segment, and also wraps up this week's PE Crime Blotter. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.